This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by trainer Don Charles over Zoom. Don, it's good to see you. Good to catch up. I hope 2024 has been treating you well so far. How is life doing for you, though?
Yeah, first and foremost, Happy New Year to you, your family, and your listeners.
Happy New Year to you, Don. I appreciate that. How have things been looking for you this year, and obviously the back end of last year, without the touching on Daniel's fight just yet?
Yeah, I mean, God is great. Life is good. I don't believe I've said this publicly. I recently became a grandfather, and to twin boys. It's my first. So obviously I'm like over the moon. I'm joyed, overjoyed, and God is great. Like I said,
Well, Don, obviously, I hope
So
both.
that's what I've been doing. I've been busy earlier on this year, getting used to being a grandfather.
Obviously, I hope both are fit and well and healthy. Do you think we've got a couple of in a few years' time, to say the very least, future champions on board?
Well, if look, it's obviously naturally as the grandfather, first thing I'll do for them is to teach them how to defend themselves, and then what happens after that. Yeah.
Don, let's go back towards the back end of last year. Obviously, Daniel Dubois came through what was a high pressure fight against Jarrell Miller. Your second fight together. Just walk me through kind of how happy you were first and foremost to see Daniel get that job done with all the talk in the build up as to whether or not, but basically people questioning if he had the minerals, if you will, to come through a fight like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as you know, we came through the Usyk experience. That was our first fight together, which I said at the time, once we were going to have that fight, it was quite a daunting task. For I haven't gotten this fighter that I've been waiting for, then to be thrusted with the opportunity to fight for a world title straight away. There is no lead up to it to get to know one another. So we had to really gel. Really, we had no choice but to gel instantaneously. And that did happen. We went away to camp, as you know, to Spain, where we prepared. And we went to Poland. And again, I'm not going to keep regurgitating, and it's like sound like a broken record. That we went there, and I believe we won the fight before we lost the fight. And it's God's will. I'm a God-fearing man. I always say that, and I truly believe that when things happen, which is out of your hands, it's God has plans. And as human beings, we question when things go wrong. Why? And then the answer presents itself later on in the future. So as much as I would have liked Daniel's hands to be raised in Poland to be crowned the unified world champion, maybe it was too premature. Maybe had Daniel become world champion back then, of course, it would be a nice thing, but then you've got to defend those belts and hold on to them. Maybe we're not ready. God said, no, I've got a bigger plan for you. I'm going to draw you back a couple of steps and then regroup. And then when it's time to win it, then you're going to win it and hold on to it for many, many years to come. So the way it stands at the moment, that's what I believe. And then our second fight together is against Jarrell Miller, who's an unbeaten fighter, the loudmouth American, who's unbeaten. And again, the pressure, I can't even start to tell you the pressure that the fighter, first and foremost, Daniel's the one that gets into the ring to fight. The pressure that young man, remember, he's only just 26, the pressure that he would have been under, yeah? And the whole boxing fraternity calling you, labeling you a quitter, yeah? He's only a human. When you go to bed at night, you're going to question yourself, am I a quitter? Maybe I'm a quitter. If you know all the doubts that goes through one's head, yeah? And, the negative energy can affect you, especially on a young head like Daniel. The pressure that young man must have been under all through the preparation of that fight, yeah? Knowing that losing has never been an option, but certainly that fight, even myself, as the coach, the pressure, because we couldn't get it wrong. We can't, because we can't let the negative people and the haters win, in the sense that, God forbid, had we fallen short in that fight and lost. Can you imagine? I can't even start to imagine, because it frightens me to the thought of having, if we had we failed in Riyadh in December. You know, I'm pretty a strong guy mentally and physically. I don't know what would have become of me as a person.
With Daniel's performance done, what pleased you the most from what he showed in that fight?
Wow. Well, talking about getting to know your fighter, really know him, yeah. I mean, he showed me everything and more that I needed to see in him. He shows it in preparation, he shows it, but you need to show it on the night, under those lights. And he answered every question, yeah, including me. I ask questions. I need to know this guy. Can he dig deep when it matters? Yeah. And my goodness, did he dig deep? Because it wasn't easy in there. Yeah. It wasn't easy in there. Like, yes, he was putting hands on Miller. It was a very good fight for the neutrals. Yeah. Beginning of the fight, from our recollection, we started well, and then obviously the nervous energy and anxiousness of like, Daniel will hit people. Daniel's probably one of the hardest punchers I've ever come across. So he's probably obviously hitting this guy with what would normally put people down, and the guy's still coming at you. So as a human being, you're gonna question yourself. I'm gonna say, I've just hit him with one of my power shots, and he's still coming. So that would also put doubts in your head. Obviously, that was their game plan, is to keep stepping to Daniel, put him under pressure, with the view that Daniel's going to fatigue. I mean, look, it worked for them for a while, because we did. After 3 rounds, you could see it yourself. Daniel was searching for oxygen, and then obviously was incredibly fit, mentally and physically. It's not just a physical fitness. And he was able to turn it around, get his second win back. And all through, I mean, his punch output, I'd like to get the stats actually, was very high for a heavyweight, Daniel Dubois. And the majority of them, I would say 60% of his work on that night were power shots. And power shots sap you, they sap your energy. I mean, he hit this guy with horrible shots, horrible. And Jarrell, being a very heavy guy, was able to soak up that punishment. Had Daniel been hitting other people who would come in at a normal weight, let's say, they wouldn't have been able to take those punches round after round after round.
Don, earlier on you mentioned the pressure on the fighter, and in this case, obviously Daniel. Prior to the Jarrell Miller fight, did you guys ever have any discussions behind closed doors about if maybe he's come to you and said, like, he does feel the pressure, he does feel that there's a lot of doubters there and a lot of people questioning that if he loses, where does he go? What's the rebuilding job look like? Did he ever have those types of conversations with you prior to the Jarrell Miller fight?
Well, it's not had in the way that you've just laid it out. The conversations that I had all through camp, the possibilities and of this, of that, you weigh up everything, we cover everything, and it's not had in that manner, the conversation, but we know what's ahead. Yeah, it's my duty. His father is very instrumental. Works on his mindset. And yes, such conversations was had, but like I said, in our own way of getting the information to the fighter. He knew what was at stake for his career. And yeah, and he, like I said, he answered all the questions. And we'll take a lot out of that. Him as a fighter, myself as a coach, the team. The belief we have now with that momentum. I don't want to jinx anything. I can't see that young man being beaten in a boxing fight in a very, very long time. All based on that night. Yeah, a sink or swim night, and he swam brilliantly. And like I said, we take a lot of that So that's 2 fights together. We've been together now. 2 top fights. One was for a unification of World Heavyweight Championship, and he did himself justice, irrespective of what the negative losers were labeling him afterwards. What it may appear to them that they don't know, they think they know. They know better than the people on the inside. All the people who were labeling this young man, what they were labeling him. They don't know. They seem to know better than us. We know what happened. And it was our duty to rectify it and address it, and we've done that.
And of course, everybody's going to look to the future now with Daniel. What's going to be next? Where does his career sit in your eyes? Who would you like to see him potentially face off with? Is there anybody who fought on the night who you think could be a realistic opportunity? For example, the Aji Kabayel fight produced a brilliant performance in his own right against Makhmudov. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in him versus Daniel Dubois, for example.
Right, as you know, I always stay in my lane whenever I'm asked this question. My lane, I'm a professional boxing coach, and we happen to be working with a Hall of Famer promoter who is an architect, he's an engineer, and he will present to us a few options. It could be somebody from that night, the day of reckoning. It could be, or it might be somebody who wasn't involved in that historic event. So we're in talks with our promoter, and we come such time where somebody's identified who we're going to face, Daniel's going to face, then I will answer you that question. He's got lots of options, Daniel.
Just one name I want to prod and probe a little bit more over is Joe Joyce. Obviously, I'm sure that's a fight Daniel would love to right the wrong on his record with. Um, did or have talks taken place at all around that fight? Can you tell me? Because at the beginning of the year, there were reports of a potential rematch taking place between the pair of them, but now obviously we've seen Joe Joyce and Cash Ali announced for the show in Birmingham.
Well, I'm not being sarcastic when I answer you this question. You guys seem to get the information before we do. So I haven't had any talks with anybody regarding Joe Joyce. I'm not really one for social media. I don't attempt to tunnel vision, locked up in my gym. Come such time anything is to materialize, then it's presented to me and I'll examine it. If I think it's the right fight, the right time, then obviously I will agree. And but like I said, no discussions about. Everybody's been away. It's the beginning of the year, so as you know, Daniel's been on holiday, a well-deserved holiday break. He's gone 2 camps back to back, 2 hot, very very hard camps back to back. He really needed a break, which is gone and refreshed himself. And we're back in the gym on Monday coming. And as you know, he's a very disciplined individual, Daniel, in life. Although he's on holiday, I've seen footage of him training, and he's the sort of guy, that's his lifestyle, that's his lifestyle. Sometimes I wish he could be naughty and do the things that usually people, athletes, but I don't have to tell this kid, oh, don't do this or don't do that. He's just an immaculate individual.
Final one on it all done. Do you think 2024 is the year we see the Joe Joyce rematch?
Well, like I said, if that's what's going to be, then again, like I said, I will examine it. It's all about timing. Yeah, I have to look at it. The team has to look at it. The fighter has to have a say in it. Is that really the fight? I would really like, when I say tune up, irrespective, going into another hard fight. He's had 2 hard fights back to back. We have to look at that. Yeah, so like I said, I'm not at liberty to give you the answer of the Joe Joyce thing. In the future, of course, that's a fight we will look at to him to avenge, right the wrongs that in his career so far is Joyce and Usyk. So, of course, it's inevitable in the future that we will look at those fights. But initially, like I said, he's had 2 hard fights back to back. when we have a meeting, there's a meeting pending with the promoter, and I will know more after we've had that meeting. Right now, as I sit here, you know probably better than I do.
Don, just whilst I got you some fights on the horizon, I do want to get your thoughts on some big heavyweight fights we're all looking forward to. Let's start off with Feb 17 for undisputed crown on the line between Tyson and Alexander. What are your thoughts as we draw ever closer?
What are my thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never made it a secret. Whenever I've been asked the questions, um, I have Tyson as a clear winner in that fight. But of course, it's not going to be an easy fight. There hasn't been an undisputed champion for the what 25 years or so. Last one being Sir, although they haven't made it official, but I'm putting it out there. We must address him, Sir Lennox Lewis. Yeah, he has to get knighted. It has to be knighted, and so yeah, it's going to be a hard fight. But I only see Tyson, irrespective of all the rumors that's out there. That's just boxing for you. Um, I have Tyson as a clear winner of that fight.
A few weeks later, we'll head back to Saudi Arabia to see Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. A fight which maybe a year ago people wouldn't have expected to be as competitive as what it might be now, simply because of Ngannou's performance against Tyson Fury. AJ still goes in as a big favourite, but what do you expect to see when they're both in the ring?
Yeah, again, I expect to see a well competitive, physical fight. Yeah, you got two guys here who, like I said, the physicality, just on this physicality uh, uh, aspects, you can't get better than that, the matchup physically. I believe it would be a very physical encounter. And obviously, prior to this fight materializing, Ngannou showed us he was the unknown. He was an unknown when he fought Tyson Fury, including myself. I didn't give him any chance. I'm not a hypocrite. I stick to my prediction prior to him fighting Fury. I really couldn't see how he could fight Fury. I really and be as successful as he was and push Fury to the wire. So I have to take that back, my initial prediction. So back then, Ngannou was an unknown to the boxing world, but we know about him now. So Joshua and his team, Ben Davison, they've got more now to look at, to examine. Before there was nothing to go by. You can't really go by his competition in the UFC. You can sort of draw little examples where you can work on things, but now you've got something, real footages in a real fight to study. So I think, you're going to see Anthony Joshua is a heavyweight gold medalist, and he's got incredible boxing ability. His fundamentals are intact, and again, without being involved in, I don't coach him. Ben Davison coaches him. They'll devise a game plan to negate their way to be able to box Ngannou, use that, what I would say, superior boxing ability against Ngannou to have success against Ngannou. They've got something to work with.
John, on that undercard, there's a very intriguing heavyweight matchup, one which has divided opinion when I've asked them. Joseph Parker and Zhang Zhilei. Who do you hedge your bets towards if you were a betting man?
Yeah, again, a very intriguing fight. I have to commend Andy Lee and Joseph Parker, the fighter, on the brilliant game plan they used against Wilder. Nobody expected that. I certainly put my hand up. Again, I was wrong. I called it wrong that Wilder would be successful against Parker. And Parker, he was that good on the night with their game plan. He became the puncher on the night against a renowned puncher. Yeah. So who am I to then write him off against Zhang, who also can punch and can box, and he's a southpaw. Obviously, that brings brings its own problems. Being a southpaw, not just he's a big man, Zhang. Yeah, so a very, very good matchup. And Joseph is gone into this fight back to back, very short space in between. Again, he probably used the momentum of the Wilder victory and take it into the Zhang fight. Very hard to call. Very hard to call. But Joseph being the technical fighter he is, and Andy Lee collectively the coach, there's a really good matchup there between Joseph Parker and Andy Lee. They understand each other, and who am I to doubt them? They're going to devise another master class game plan to negate their way and against Zhang, and I think they're knowledgeable enough to be able to negate and get a good game plan to be able to be successful against Zhang. Again, we know Zhang, what he can do. He's not a joke. This guy is a serious heavyweight, and it's a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that fight. I made the best man win.
Final one, Don, and one which is taking place next weekend. We see Joshua Buatsi and Dan Azeez square off in the light heavyweight division. Always look forward to a good domestic fight, which is what we will get next weekend. Just your take, please.
What a mouth-watering encounter between two supreme athletes, Dan Azeez. I would say to Dan, you know what who he reminds me is like a modern day Marvin Hagler. That's how he's built and that's how he boxes. And against an Olympian in the name of Joshua Buatsi, an unbeaten fighter. I believe Dan Azeez is unbeaten also, right? Yeah, he's unbeaten. And I mean, what a mouth-watering prospect to be able to. I'm looking forward to that. Again, very hard to call. Yeah, whoever performs on the night, in my opinion, and boxes as close as possible to the game plan they've devised with their individual coaches, wins the fight. Very hard to call, honestly. I couldn't call that one. Like I said, if school turns up on the night and implements a high percentage of what they've rehearsed, will be successful.
Don, it's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. I'm leave you now to enjoy what's left of your day. Thank you for speaking to me, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Andy. God bless you as always.